Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
You know those bills that always seem to catch you off guard?
Aha.
Well, today we're going to learn how to get ahead of those,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to our good friend AWS.
Yeah, that's right.
And we've got this great AWS document that's going to help us.
Right.
It's called Create a Billing Alarm to monitor your estimated AWS charges Amazon CloudWatch.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, even if you're not super deep in the AWS world,
Yeah.
stick around because this is about any budget, right?
Yeah.
Your grocery budget, a project budget.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want an early warning system for overspending?
Seriously, who doesn't?
So we're going to cover how to set up those billing alerts,
Uh-huh.
how to create alarms,
Yeah.
how to delete alarms if you're feeling really confident.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this interesting little twist about where all this data is stored that I think will surprise you.
Okay.
But first, let's get back to the basics.
Okay.
What is the tool that we're using to track these AWS charges?
So that is Amazon CloudWatch. This is really like your go-to for anything monitoring in AWS, and this includes your estimated charges.
Okay, so estimated, so it's not the final bill.
No, not the final bill.
So we're not going to pass out when we see it.
You got it.
It's more like getting updates throughout the day.
Exactly. Regular check-ins to see where you're at.
I like that.
Yeah.
So do these estimated charges cover every service that I might be using on AWS?
Yes, it covers all your AWS services.
Oh, wow.
You get a complete picture of your AWS spending in one spot.
Okay, so no need to set up individual monitoring for each service?
Nope, one place for everything.
Okay, that's efficient.
Exactly.
Okay, you ready for that little interesting twist?
Let's hear it.
All right, so no matter where you're running your AWS services,
Okay.
all the billing data ends up in one spot.
Okay. Where?
U.S. East Northern Virginia region.
Really?
That's it.
Wow. So no matter where your applications or anything are running, it all goes to Northern Virginia.
Northern Virginia.
That's so interesting.
It's like the central hub.
It is like the central hub for all your AWS billing information.
So I could be running an app in Australia, Europe,
Yeah.
the moon someday.
Even the moon.
It all goes back to Northern Virginia.
That's right. A global perspective.
All right, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of setting up these alarms,
Okay.
I'm curious, how do they actually work?
Okay, so
What triggers them?
they're triggered when your current estimated charges go over a certain limit that you set.
Okay, so no super complicated algorithms
No.
predicting my spending habits.
Well, just what's happening right now.
Okay, so if I set an alarm for, let's say, $500,
Okay.
and my current charges are already at, let's say, $550, does it go off immediately?
It sure does.
Not waiting.
Nope, immediate alert.
Okay, that's actually reassuring.
Right, it's like a heads up.
It's like, hey, pay attention.
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk about getting these alarms set up and running.
Okay.
What's the most important first step?
So before you do anything else, you have to enable billing alerts.
Okay, so we have to tell AWS, hey, start paying attention.
Yes, give AWS permission to track your costs.
So, flip a switch.
Basically.
All right, and once we enable those alerts, are we good to go? Can we jump right into creating alarms?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
It's going to take 15 minutes or so for AWS to gather the data.
15 minutes.
Yeah, so just a little bit of patience.
I can handle that.
Good.
All right, so what about requirements? Are there any hoops that we need to jump through before we can create these alarms?
So you need to be the root user of the account or have special permissions to see the billing info.
Okay, so it can't just be anybody.
Right, you need to be authorized.
Makes sense. Now, what about consolidated billing?
Okay, so with consolidated billing,
Where you have multiple accounts
right,
under one paying account.
you need to be logged in as the paying account to see all the data.
Okay, so that's like the central command center.
Exactly.
Okay, and if I'm one of those linked accounts, does my spending automatically get tracked, or is there something I need to do?
So it's actually up to the payer account to enable receive billing alerts.
Okay, so they have to flip the switch.
Yes, they need to enable it for the linked account data to be included.
Okay.
It's a team effort.
Gotcha. Now, are there any exceptions to this?
Yes, accounts in the Amazon partner network.
Okay.
They don't get this data.
All right, so they've got their own thing going on.
Exactly.
All right, if we're talking, let's actually enable these billing alerts. Where do we begin?
Okay, so head over to the AWS Billing and Cost Management console.
Okay.
And then look for Billing Preferences.
Okay. Sounded
Great, and then you'll see Alert Preferences and just click Edit next to that.
right. Clicking edit.
Perfect. Now select Receive CloudWatch Billing Alerts and then just hit Save Preferences to make it official.
Okay, done.
You got it.
So billing alerts are officially enabled.
Yes.
Now onto the main event, those all-important alarms.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, you mentioned that where that billing data is stored is super important
Yes.
when creating alarms.
Uh-huh.
Can you refresh my memory on why that's the case?
Sure, we'll dive into that in the next part of our deep dive, so stay tuned.
Ooh, a cliffhanger.
You got it. All right, so are you ready to start building those alarms?
I'm ready to take control of my AWS spending.
Okay, good.
But before we jump into the step-by-step, can you remind me why the location of that billing data is so important when creating the alarms?
Yeah, so remember how all that data is stored in U.S. East Northern Virginia?
Uh-huh.
Well, when you go to create a billing alarm, you need to make sure that you're in that region in your AWS console.
Oh, really? So even if I'm running applications in Europe or Asia,
Yeah,
I have to pretend I'm in Northern Virginia.
pretty much, because that's where the data lives. That's what the alarm
I
user
say location, location, location.
Exactly.
All right. Anything else I need to double check before we create these alarms?
Yeah, just make sure that those billing alerts that we enabled earlier are still active.
Okay.
No alerts, no alarms.
Got it. Alerts checked.
Yeah.
Region, Northern Virginia. We are ready to roll.
All right, let's do it.
So how do we create an alarm using the CloudWatch console?
Okay, so picture yourself in the CloudWatch console.
Okay.
You're going to go to Alarms, then All Alarms, and then click on Create Alarm.
Click, click, got it. What's next?
Now you're going to choose the metric that you want to monitor for your alarm. So under Browse, you're going to choose Billing, and then Total Estimated Charge.
Okay, so we're not just tracking one service, we're tracking everything.
Yes, the total cost.
Okay, and you said if I don't see those billing and total estimated charge metrics, double check that those billing alerts are enabled and that I'm in the right region.
Exactly. It's easy to miss those.
Gotcha. All right, so we've got our metrics selected. Now, how do we set, like, the boundaries for the alarm?
Okay, so first you're going to choose a statistic for the alarm to evaluate, and for this we're going to choose maximum.
Okay, so it's going to trigger if my cost goes above whatever I set.
Right. Based on the highest estimated charge within the time period.
Okay, so looking for those peak moments.
Exactly.
Now, what about that time period?
So for period, choose 6 hours. This means it'll check your estimated charges every 6 hours.
Okay, so we're getting those checks, but we're not being bombarded.
Exactly. Finding that good balance.
Okay, and then for threshold type, we're going to choose static.
Yes, you're setting a fixed dollar amount.
Okay, so if I set that amount, let's say at $100,
Mm-hmm.
does it have to go over by a lot, or will it trigger if it goes over even by a little?
Even a little bit will trigger it.
Oh, wow. So it's sensitive.
It is. It's watching.
Okay, so I'm guessing we're going to choose greater under whenever estimated charges is.
Yes.
Since we want to be alerted if it goes over.
Yes. Greater than.
Got it. And then we define that dollar amount,
That's right.
that threshold.
Yep. And you can actually see a preview graph of your estimated charges for the month after you do that.
Oh, cool. So we can see if we're on track or not.
Exactly.
All right, so what else do we need to do?
Okay, so under additional configuration, you'll see data points to alarm. We're going to set that to 1 out of 1.
Okay, can you explain data points to alarm?
Yeah, so within that 6-hour period that we talked about, CloudWatch is taking snapshots of your cost.
Uh-huh.
And this basically means if any one of those snapshots exceeds your threshold, the alarm will trigger.
Oh, wow. So it's very alert.
Yes, one spike and it'll trigger.
Okay, then. Missing data treatment. We're going to go with treat missing data as missing.
Yes, so if for whatever reason there's a data point missing,
Yeah.
we want it to still trigger the alarm.
So better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
All right, so now we've configured the alarm, how it's going to work.
Yeah,
Let's tell it what to actually DO when it goes off.
right. So that's where notifications come in.
So you said email is an option,
Yes.
because I would like to get an email.
Okay, so in the notifications section, make sure in alarm is selected, and then you need to specify an Amazon SNS topic.
Okay, can you explain what an SNS topic is?
Yeah, so Amazon SNS, that stands for Simple Notification Service.
Okay.
It's basically a messaging system within AWS.
Okay.
And it lets you send notifications to like email addresses, phone numbers, even other applications.
Okay, so lots of options.
Lots of flexibility.
So I could have it send an email to our finance team
Yeah,
and a text message to me,
exactly.
and then trigger some other action in our system.
You got it.
That's so cool. All right, so we got our SNS topic all set up, and our notifications are ready to roll.
Good.
What next?
Okay, so under name and description, you need to give your alarm a name. Keep it simple and descriptive.
Okay.
And you can add a description too if you want.
Okay, so like a little note.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we're almost there. What's the final step?
Okay, review everything, make sure it looks good, and then click Create Alarm.
And just like that, I have a financial safety net in place.
Exactly. You'll be alerted if those costs start going up.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better.
Good. I'm glad.
Now, what happens if I need to delete an alarm? Like if I've got things under control or I need to change something, is that as complicated as creating one?
No, deleting is much simpler.
Okay, good to know.
And it's fully reversible. You can always create a new one.
Phew. Okay, so how do I go about deleting an alarm that I no longer need?
Okay, so remember that important detail about where the data lives?
You mean U.S. East Northern Virginia?
Yes.
I feel like we should just move there at this point.
Right, so make sure you're in that region in the console, and then go back to the CloudWatch console,
Okay.
and then go to Alarms and all alarms.
Okay.
You'll see all the alarms that you created.
Okay.
Find the one that you want to get rid of, select it,
Mm-hmm.
and then go up to Actions and click Delete.
And then confirm just to be sure.
Yes, just to double check.
Got it. So then the alarm is gone.
It's gone.
I feel so much more in control of my AWS costs now.
Good.
We've covered so much today, from enabling alerts to creating alarms and even deleting them.
I know, right?
And my new favorite AWS region, U.S. East Northern Virginia. But this isn't just about the technical steps of setting up these alarms.
That's right.
This is about applying these principles to any budget.
Yes.
My personal finances, a small project at work.
Yep.
Even like company-wide budgets.
Exactly. It's about financial control.
I'm already thinking about how I can use these slow down, you're spending too much alerts in other areas of my life.
That's a good idea.
That are really powerful concept.
It is. So what other aspects of your life or your work do you think could benefit from an early warning system?
That's a good question for our listeners to think about.
It is.
What overspending pitfalls are lurking in the shadows just waiting to catch you off guard?
Right.
Maybe we'll explore those in our next deep dive.
Sounds good.
Until then, stay curious and we'll catch you next time. All right, so we've got these alarms all set up,
Uh-huh.
but I'm curious, like what happens when an alarm actually goes off?
Okay, so remember those SNS topics we talked about?
Yeah.
That's where it comes in. When the alarm triggers, it sends a notification to that SNS topic that you set up.
Okay, so I could get an email, a text message,
Yep.
or even have something else happen in my system.
That's right. You've got options.
So it's not just about getting notified, it's about taking action.
Exactly.
What kind of actions can I take when an alarm goes off?
Well, that depends on why it went off in the first place.
Okay, so let's say I get an alarm that my estimated charges are way over my limit.
Okay.
What are some steps I could take?
First thing, don't panic.
Okay, good advice.
You need to figure out why it went off.
Right. Is it like a one-time thing or is there a bigger problem?
Exactly. You got to do a little investigating.
Like detective work.
Yeah.
All right, so what are some common reasons these alarms go off?
It could be anything from unused resources that are still running.
Uh-huh.
Maybe there's a lot of traffic on your applications.
Okay.
Maybe you forgot to shut down a development environment.
Oh yeah, that's easy to do.
It happens.
So sometimes it's an easy fix.
Right.
Sometimes it takes more digging.
Yeah, it depends.
It sounds like you really need to understand your AWS infrastructure
You do, and how your applications are behaving.
and how they're using those AWS resources.
Exactly, so you can keep costs down.
It's like being a responsible car owner.
Yeah.
You got to understand how your car works
Yeah.
so you can keep it running smoothly.
I like that analogy.
So billing alarms are like the check engine light,
Yes, they're a warning sign.
but it's up to us to figure out what's wrong.
That's right. Take action.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today,
We have.
from enabling billing alerts to creating alarms to managing them and even what to do when they go off.
I think everyone's going to feel a lot more in control of their AWS costs now.
I hope so. And remember, this isn't just about AWS.
It's not.
This is about being aware of your spending in general.
Yeah, any budget.
Whether it's your personal finances,
Mm-hmm.
a project at work,
Yeah.
anything. I'm already thinking about where else I can use these early warning systems in my life.
Me too.
It's such a powerful concept.
It really is.
So think about it, listeners. Where else in your life or work could you benefit from an early warning system?
Yeah. What potential overspending pitfalls are out there?
That's something to think about.
It is.
Maybe we'll explore that in our next deep dive. But until then, stay curious, and we'll catch you later.